here for VRL and VRL only. As always, my name's Alex Bomberg. Alongside me in the commentary box, Jackson. Welcome, Jackson. How are you doing on this fine Sunday afternoon?
I'm doing very well. Glad to be back here again. Glad I'm not there at Silverstone Circuit at the moment. It does not look like nice conditions. But I mean, it'll bring out the best in the drivers, which will be very entertaining to watch.
Of course, shortest lap of the season here today. Obviously, running around the Silverstone Circuit, which the drivers competed last week. But cutting through the middle, Jackson, what twist, what spin will that put on things, given, you know, there's half the corners, half the lap time, and, you know, every corner is even more crucial now.
On a 1 minute 26 lap, it's not going to be the end of the world, but 1/10 around a, 50-second lap, it is going to be the end of the world, because sort of it hurts you so much more, and it means that if we've got a chance at a shot pole, really, because you throw a mistake from Benjamin or Dylan or something like that one mistake costs them so much more than before. And if someone just gets a clean lap, where even if they're a couple hundredths off in each corner, across the lap, that should, as long as they keep it clean, they could definitely be in the fight for pole.
Of course, talking about the fight for pole at the minute, it's Luke and Nick who seemingly nailing the conditions. He's the best part of 0.8 of a second clear than anyone else. That's a really strong gap by Luke and Nick as we approach the final 5 minutes of this qualifying session. The drivers will get lots of runs, as is the nature of this circuit, but you know, got to make the tyres last. But 0.8, you know, we said that there's not as much time to lose on the track, but 0.8 is a huge gap, Jackson.
I mean, you've got to imagine that he's made some sort of setup choice. Perhaps the race is going to be dry and they've gone with a wet setup. That would explain part of the gap. But even around a track this short, as I don't know, I mean, you've seen that ahead of me, but interesting to entry there from Luke and Nick. But it's puzzling to think that you can gain 0.8 around here. I mean, of course, the weather conditions make the lap time slightly longer, but it's still an incredibly short circuit that we, in theory, should see very close battles on and very close lap times. But, I mean, so far, that is not the case.
Looking a little bit further down, though, from Luke and Nick, it all looks very, very tight. CRG Benjamin left VRT, joined CRG, so new pastures for Benjamin. Had a really disappointing time last time out, crashing, I believe, on the 4th lap at Maggots and Beckett's. Ben will be happy to know that there's no Maggots and Beckett's today, though, and fingers crossed he'll go better than he did last week, as IGK Gill did eat into his championship lead by 10 points after Gill finished 5th, and that gap at the top did come down. However, Benjamin still with a good enough gap, and at the moment he is about he is spot on 6 places ahead of his rival at the moment, and that's quite healthy so far. But 100% race as well. Tyre wear not really a factor because it is scaled to the normal Silverstone tyre wear, meaning that the tyres can stretch. It should theoretically be an easy one-stop, soft to medium. Nevertheless, I'm expecting a lot of interesting battles here today, Jackson.
Yeah, it's that short circuit means that the dirty air plays in some ways less of a factor, in others it plays more of a factor. Of course, it means that more of the lap is cornering. Hold on to that DRS, because if you lose that DRS, you're going to be in trouble with the drivers behind you.
Of course, and overtaking as well might be a little bit tricky here today. Let's go through the real overtaking spots. Over into Stowe, you've got the DRS down there. Other than that, maybe into turn 3 you go through Abbey, then Farm, but other than that, it's not really many places to overtake, and I'm not suggesting we're going to see a Monaco-esque race, but it could be a little bit, you know, sort of same old, and we might have seen drivers getting a little bit bold in order to make up the positions here in at Silverstone Short.
Yes, I think we've got a good chance of a lot of battles, but it's going to be tough. I think once one battle kicks off, if there's a group behind them, that's going to be so wheel to wheel for probably a lap or two. Because the lap's so short, it is so easy to say side by side once you have got alongside. But until someone makes that move, until someone attempts a move, they're going to be sort of relying on the DRS, and the dirty will be hurting them too much to really make any ground on the other drivers. So it's going to be very interesting to see. But of course, that difficulty to overtake, similar to tracks like Monaco, as you suggested, it means that when drivers do go for the overtake, the chance of there being a contact or a collision is raised up a bit. And these guys are all very good drivers, and I'm sure that there won't be sort of much contact in this race. But if someone goes for an ill-advised move up the inside of the Vale chicane, chances are someone's going to be spun around, and I mean that could definitely shape the race, especially if a collision like that happens between the leaders.
I mean, we were talking earlier about, you know, if you pit, you lose, well, let's say 30 seconds, a relatively long pit lane here at Silverstone with a low speed limit as ACSC's gone off. Not sure where he's crashed out, but as I was saying, you lose the best part of 30 seconds at the Silverstone pit lane, low speed limit, long pit lane. That is, you know, 3/5 of a lap here at Silverstone, so we could really see people getting lapped today, and if there's a safety car, blue flags could come into it massively. So I think there's a lot of variables coming into this race. Meanwhile, Dylan Warren's just moved up into P3. He's gone on a longer stint on them intermediate tyres, 5 laps on them intermediate tyres. Luke and Nick still on provisional pole. He's going to come through the final corner. I believe he's actually up on his time. He doesn't improve. Lost a lot of time in that final sector, so that's looking Nick's best time. Can anyone get anywhere close to it? That's an absolutely monstrous effort from Luke and Nick, and it could be his first pole position in VRL as Benjamin goes wide. He's into the wall. So let's turn our attention to Dylan Warren. He's sideways through Stowe. Tim Wentigov as well. Both Mercedes having a dreadful end to the session. Dylan Warren goes into the pits, and it doesn't look like anyone's improving here at the end as Harry B goes off. And I think, Jackson, we've got our final confirmed order for qualifying, or for the race start, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, that is quite a shocking grid there. Lots of drivers that you wouldn't expect to be where they are. I mean, Benjamin on the front row, so that's something we've come to expect by this stage, but see Luke and Nick on pole. It's a shock pole, but it's a driver who's been sort of up and around sort of the front end of the midfield all season. It's nice to see them breaking through and getting that pole position. Although, you've got to feel that there's something else at play there. 8/10 gap around a track this short. I mean, it was a 10th or 2, you could say maybe you just...
To the circuit, and he finds the pit lane, so Tim's made it home. And yeah, first pole for Luke and Nick. That certainly unexpected, but I'm sure the Racing Point team principal will be more than chuffed with that. Not only with the pole, but Desso, who's shown his qualities throughout this season, also backing his team up in 4th. This could be a really good race on the horizon for Racing Point, Jackson.
Yeah, this could be a really good point scoring opportunity for them. Because, I mean, in a championship that's been so close throughout the entire season so far, those small margins of points have really helped them out, especially as they're sort of falling off the battle of for 3rd place in the championship this season. So a strong result here for them definitely could jump them up the championship standings. But I mean, with the fast pace of this race, who knows what's going to happen.
Oh, we've actually got Law out on a lap. I can see he's invalidated, so I'm not sure if we've got a bit of a timing glitch here, Jackson. I'm hearing that Luke and Nick's time... I'm hearing Luke and Nick's time was a timing glitch indeed, which, if I'm completely honest, I wouldn't be surprised with all due respect to Luke and Nick. But a 47.8 is a really, really strong lap time. One that, arguably, a little bit over the limit of what you could do here, especially in the wet.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem very extreme, and that would explain a lot. But yeah, it should be interesting to see, because that will most likely still give Luke and Nick the P1 on the grid. So, of course, there are some sort of questions there, what exactly happened. But it is going to be interesting to see, after this race, and maybe during the race, exactly what happened in that qualifying session.
Well, seemingly Luke and Nick, timing glitch or not, is going to take the pole position ahead of championship leader Benjamin, Dylan 3rd, Dessa 4th, Tim up in 5th, Memes Virus, star of VRL F2 up in 6th, Gil only 7th. He's going to hope to be improving on that. Marcus Dowley returning to VRL up in 8th, Cone 9th, Harry B 10th, and then rounding out the top 10. Or outside the top 10, I should say, is GFO Leclerc, LR, ACSE, Scott Bunyett, and I believe that was Ballina who didn't set a time. And I think there's 2 more drivers who also haven't set a time, who are just joining at the back of the grid, Jackson.
Yeah, it is. It's a mixed-up grid we have today, and it should provide some excellent racing, especially with Ballina starting so low down the order. he is. I mean, we've seen in the past that he is not afraid to go for a daring overtake, and sometimes a daring defence. But I think he's definitely going to provide a lot of entertainment for us today, as he makes his way up the order.
Of course, dry conditions here at Silverstone, so all drivers with a free tyre choice. Jackson, are you expecting anything interesting on the strategy front, or just nice and simple?
I mean, up front, to be fair, I think maybe like someone like Luke and Nick, knowing what's happened there, may try and go for something a bit alternative. Just try and, knowing that he hasn't legitimately got the pace to be on pole, he may try and sort of use that track position to give him perhaps starting on the harder of the two compounds. Because let's face it, it's going to be mediums or softs people lose today. I mean, even as an instant early in the race, the tyre wear, because of it being the Silverstone sort of the full layout tyre wear, it's fairly simple to do around a very simple one stop to do around here. So it's going to be interesting to see how early people pit. I mean, it'd be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some people do longer stints on the softs than they do on the mediums. It's almost like a 25% race in that sense because of the tyre wear being so low. But we just have to wait and see, and perhaps someone does try an alternative strategy and can spring a surprise on us.
It would have been second anyway, Jackson, as a result, without that timing glitch there. Not much is lost, and got an interesting race on the horizon, especially with Ben on the medium.
In the past, yeah, that was on stream as well. I don't know if you can hear me or not at the moment. But it should be an entertaining race. Got a very dark route. But it's going to who gets stuck in traffic. A track like this, it does provide a difficulty to overtaking, but some of these guys we know are top-level drivers, and well, they can overtake around Monaco really. But we'll have to wait and see what they can do today as we grid.
Here we go then. Luke and Nick on pole slot for the first time in his VRL career. Benjamin second, Dylan third. 52 laps, the longest race, lap count wise, in VRL to date. This venue held the 50th anniversary Grand Prix last season. It hosted last round. It's hosting again at the short circuit. It's lights out and away we go. Luke and Nick gets away really well. He storms away on them soft tyres. Tim Wenting with a great start from 5th all the way up into 3rd. He's challenging his teammate. Tim Wenting possibly getting ahead of his championship leader, that is Benjamin. He doesn't, he stays behind. They're still side by side, the two Mercedes. Tim Wenting round the outside of turn number 4. It was a cut down into the hangar straight. We're already halfway through a lap here at Silverstone, and I think Tim is edging ahead of his teammate. The two silver arrows, or black arrows I should say, side by side into Stowe. Tim Wenting round the outside of his teammate. Can he hold in? Dylan Warren's looking to get involved as well. These two Mercedes are still side by side as we go into the final Vale chicane. It's Luke and Nick leading us away from Benjamin. Memes Virus has got up into 3rd in all of that on them soft tyres, as Tim has now dropped back behind, I believe, Dylan Warren. We've got a timing glitch going on. Meanwhile, we can confirm, I believe it is Luke and Nick leading us away. I'm not entirely sure, but Jackson, interesting start. What a battle between the two Mercedes there, as we just wait for this timing glitch to sort itself out.
Yeah, the Mercedes there, you wouldn't guess they were teammates, how hard they were battling there. But in the end it was all nice and fair, and it'd be interesting to see if that battle springs up again later in the race, or whether Benjamin can pull away. Dylan Warren there, solid start. It's hard to tell as much safety car is deployed. But it's... I mean, that's a start that with Luke and Nick on the soft, we would have guessed that he would get a good start there. But in the mid-pack it seems like a lot of overtaking, and found that already up.
Yeah, that safety car, virtual safety car I should say, called for death, so it's almost another instance of commentator's curse, Jackson. I've been good at this throughout the season, but deaths after a great virtual safety car. This is going to call for a few pit stops. Dylan Warren, hard tyres and cone hard tyres to the end. Do you think that these tyres can go to the end, Jackson?
I would say yeah. The tyre wear so low here. I would say it is possible to go to the end. Perhaps that would be quite a good strategy call. But at the same time, the tyre wear being so low means that the tyre advantage on the softer compounds is even stronger, because you have less of that the negative effects of
Oh,
wet.
and Tim, sorry Jackson to cut you off there, but Tim, Gill and Marcus have all come together at the Ville chicane. Gill's left the session. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. They were side by side and they've come together. Tim dropping down to 10th now. Gill outside of the points and Marcus Dowley with front wing damage. So it's all kicking off here. What this is good for the guys who've pit, because that is 3 less cars that they're going to have to clear. Meanwhile, up at the front, Benjamin still putting pressure on Luke and Nick.
Yeah, that crash should have came out of
Putting pressure
nowhere.
and going through. Benjamin through at Stowe. I didn't see that coming. He came from nowhere in the braking zone. Benjamin moves up into the lead. And sorry to keep cutting you off, Jackson. There's so much action, so much for us to keep up with here at Silverstone. Benjamin up into the lead on them medium tyres. This has got to be good for his strategy.
Yeah, this is a great start here for Benjamin. This is the start he needed to get ahead of Nick. But it's surprisingly good racing so far. But I must say, Benjamin's pace on the mediums, it's hard to deny. That is some rapid pace on those medium tyres, especially compared to Luke and Nick on the soft tyres. But perhaps with that early soft grip, could Luke and Nick try and fight back? It's going to be tough for him, but never say never.
Well, let's not forget he's got the DRS as well to carry him along. Maybe he'll just be conserving his ERS, but Memes Virus up into 3rd. This has been a great start for the star of F2 as I labelled him earlier on. And would you believe it, we've got the first of the front runners, the first lap being put on the guys behind. Marcus Dowley exiting the pits now. He's behind Benjamin, he's behind Luke and Nick, and he's just in front of Memes Virus. However, will get past just now because he is ghosting. So that's one thing I mentioned. Gill getting lapped as well there. Be interesting to see if the back markers get in the way, but what a start for Memes Virus, and one that we didn't expect, Jackson.
Yeah, that was it sort of came out of nowhere, but it's been a great sort of driving in general, avoiding some of the carnage that has happened, and just keeping his front wing clear. And I mean, it's a fantastic job there to be up in a podium position, and a fairly solid podium position at the moment. Because I mean, no one at the moment looks like they're making any major overtaking moves up or down the field. It all seems fairly stable, a couple of moves here and there. But in general, there's no sort of massively out of position drivers that I can see, at least, of at the moment. But I guess I'll have to wait and see until later in the race when the tyre strategy becomes a bit more clear, and we'll get a better idea of who exactly has what pace.
I wonder if we're going to get some rain on the horizon as well. It seems, well, it's certainly overcast conditions here at Silverstone. So maybe that could be why some of the drivers have opted for the mediums to go longer and go straight onto potentially intermediate tyres, maybe, Jackson?
That definitely would be a possibility. Starting the mediums to go to the rain, expect the rain to be fairly late in the race, because the softs can just go so long here, easily half race distance. So, I mean, if there is rain in the race, then you'd have to assume it's very late on for those drivers to go to the mediums. But, I mean, the fact that it's such a mixed field, that if there is rain in the race, I would perhaps suggest that it is coming about the halfway point, because that would explain the mixed strategy. Some drivers thinking they can take softs there all the way to that point in the race, and some thinking that they can't, and therefore going for mediums. But at the moment, I mean, it's looking very overcast at the moment. But you'd have to say, if rain was coming, those drivers that had pitted early for the hards probably would have gone to the medium tyre.
We've got Avesta making a move on Tim now. Tim just staying ahead. It's a shame for Tim, but you have to say, talking about his teammate, it's all the better for Ben, his championship rival, out of the points. Who else is in the championship fight with him? Harry B down in 10th, Dylan Warren down in 12th, Midnight not racing today. It's all looking rosy. I'm not trying to jinx anything, but it's all looking rosy for Ben. Is that Avesta? Avesta has gone round at the final corner, so we're 10 laps in and Silverstone Short already throwing up a really a mixed bag for some drivers as Avesta goes off again, struggling with the rear of the car. The rear tyres probably will be stressed here with the the amount of power, you know, you're on the power and off the power repeatedly throughout the lap. But both AlphaTauri's running well, 6th and 7th. You mentioned Balliner as well, starting at the back of the grid. He's up into 5th, so an impressive run for Balliner so far as he's on the back of Leclerc.
Yeah, perhaps Balliner does have the pace to challenge for a podium today. But the field spread's been fairly large so far in this race. I can't exactly see the gaps at the moment, but Balliner, he's doing a good job so far, cutting his way through the field. interesting to see where he'll end up today, especially since he's starting on those medium tyres. So you'd imagine in that second stint especially, he's going to be able to really use the softer compound tyre and perhaps challenge the likes of Giancarlo Leclerc, Means Virus and Luke and Nick.
Presuming it stays dry, of course.
Of course, yes.
But Ballon still holding on to the back of Leclerc, who is running really well so far up in fourth. Good points on the horizon for the Haas F1 team. Back to the front though, Benjamin still leading the way. We've got a few time penalties coming in. I expect a lot of the time penalties to either come from Stowe or from the turn 5 sort of right-hander onto the Hanger Straight, where the two tracks almost merge together. It's quite easy to run a little bit too wide and pick up a couple of extra warnings there. As Tim Wenting's out of the session, we've got a virtual safety car. Where's Tim retired? He's gone off at looks like Abbey. He's dropped it on the curb and gone off onto the right. Poor for Tim. You got to feel bad for him. It was looking so good. Contact with Gill, and now he's out of the race, Jackson.
Yeah, that is not what he needed there. And that, of course, is going to cost Mercedes quite a lot of points. I mean, they're fairly safe at the top of the standings at the moment. But, I mean, it's mistakes like that that will eventually start to hurt them. And if they can't fix those errors like that, who knows, perhaps another team could challenge Mercedes for that Constructors' Championship. But drivers coming to the pit lane now.
Yeah, providing a good opportunity for drivers to pit. Benjamin Memes Virus onto the hards. Interesting, Luke and Nick onto the medium, so he's confident he can take them to the end. As he comes out, well, inside Memes Virus, he gets out just behind him, so Memes has jumped the racing point there. I think Luke and Nick's made the right choice here. I think mediums can go to the end. 40 laps might be a stretch, but it is the short circuit, so are you in agreement with me here, Jackson?
Yes, I 100% think that we were thinking that those guys like Balliner and Benjamin on the medium tyres at the start of the race were really going to have a big advantage at the end. They're ended up now in a worse situation.
Oh, and look, and Nick's got a drive-through, speeding under, so the advantage that he'd have from them tyres slashed in half, or slashed completely, I should say, is he's got a drive-through to serve, and that's going to put him the best part of half a lap down, Jackson.
Yeah, that is completely ruined his race there. From what looked like a very opportune a position that could bring a lot of opportunity for him. It's all gone. It's put him in a place where he's now in need of a full safety car if he wants to try and get back up the order. And even then, you've got to say that back end of the points, maybe mid end of the points, you've got a chance at. But I mean, that's just a chance at the podium has just been thrown away there by Luke Nick, and it's a simple error and a surprisingly common error that you'd see in league racing. But it's an error that you shouldn't be making, especially at this level.
Talking about back to the top, we've got Benjamin on the back of Avesta. Avesta's not going to fight that one too hard. He's not. I think they made a little bit of contact on the entry to that corner. No problems, nevertheless. Benjamin up into 5th, and he's gonna sit on their tyres comfortably to the end as long as it doesn't rain. Or any other external factors, but I'm going to keep my eye on the likes of Balliner and Law. Balliner in the lead of the race, actually, funnily enough, almost getting towed round by his teammate Harry B, who is nearly a lap behind on fresh medium tyres. So Balliner actually, interestingly, getting a nice helping of DRS here. This is an interesting strategy from the two Williams cars, but this is helping Balliner along, and as you mentioned earlier, Jackson, if him and Law and Mode Stroll as well on the back of this, a couple of seconds behind Balliner, if these two can stretch the tyres and go into the softs at the end, they're going to be 2 steps softer than the likes of Benjamin and so much fresher tyres than the cars around them. Surely they can storm up through the field, Jackson.
Yeah, I think you've got to say that these guys could very much be in a very strong position at the moment, because although it looked like not putting under their safety car would be a big loss of theirs, especially the pit lane like this, where it is such a big loss in terms of the amount of lap that you'll fall behind. Here, with the slipstream and the DRS here, as that is Luke and Nick, who's retired from the race, is that in the pit lane?
In the pit lane, yeah.
It's a shame to see after what looked like a very a pace that, although his pole lap wasn't legitimate, he still had good pace that looked like a potential contender for a podium today. Yeah, back to those that have stayed out, they're looking very strong at the moment. Their pace isn't that bad. It's going to be interesting to see. Those, like Benjamin, they're going to have pretty bad pace throughout this, until the end of the race now. Not because of their driving, but just because of the hard. Because the wear isn't there here, they're never going to really switch on those hard tyres, I don't think. And they're just going to be sort of stuck sort of in almost a graining phase, just not being able to really use the tyres like those that are going to switch to softs are going to be able to do.
We got Memes Virus off at turn 1. All the drivers are struggling. As you mentioned, the hard, not a great race tyre. 9 times out of 10 the drivers do steer away from it. And Memes Virus advertising your point there perfectly, Jackson. Leclerc absolutely flew past Virus. He's also on the back of Dylan Warren now, who's also on the hards. You'd argue Dylan maybe didn't have much of a choice pitting on what I think was lap 2 onto the hards, but yeah, he's certainly paying the price for that initial undercut. Now Leclerc, he's just gaining time on him absolutely every bit of a slide there from the Haas driver, but you do get the feeling it's only a matter of time before GFO Leclerc moves up into what is 7th place, but I believe provisionally it will actually be a provisional 2nd place here for Leclerc, so could we see a podium here for the Haas driver?
That's definitely possible, and his pace is looking very strong at the moment. And if there perhaps it is a safety car later in this race, perhaps Leclerc could even challenge Benjamin. Of course, if there is a safety car later in the race, that will massively benefit those like Ballon, Law, and Scott Bugner and Mo Stroll. But that, of course, would put them probably in the fight for the win. But I must say, Jeff Leclerc flying at this stage of the race and showing a lot of potential for a very strong result.
I have to say that the pace of the top guys is strong as well. Ballina still charging on. He's got so much ERS to play with. He's also still getting towed around by his teammate. Just in terms of lap times, we're going to go back. Ballina's last lap a 45.5. Benjamin's last lap a 45.3. So Benjamin not making huge gains on the leaders at the moment. And with Ballina sat in his teammate's DRS, which I do get the feeling is planned, is worked between these two, it's certainly helping each other out. And Harry will break into the points after the round of pit stops, you'd assume, on them fresher tyres. He is going to the end, so I think this could really work out for the Williams team.
Yeah, this is turning out to be quite the strategy that they have pulled off here, because it really could open up a potential. Even if they haven't quite got even if they're quite way behind Benjamin when they pit, the speed they're going to have on those soft tyres, of course, with very limited wear, means that in terms of the undercut that Benjamin will get here, it's almost nothing because of those hard tyres. It's going to be interesting to see if Benjamin can show that pace we know he has, and try and fight past the hard tyres that will be holding him back. But I mean, at the end of the day, Ballina is a rapid driver, and one that I think it's fair to say is one of the quickest drivers in VRL. Of course, Benjamin is the guy that everyone knows. He's the championship leader. He's the guy that everyone's looking to beat, and everyone knows is the quickest guy. Not necessarily everywhere, but across the season, he definitely has been this season so far. But those hard tyres are really going to hold him back. And I honestly think this could be anyone's race still. Because even more that we've seen in the past, Ballina has got himself caught up in incidents. So perhaps even more could get involved here if Ballina does get caught in traffic.
I have to say as well, he won't necessarily have a tyre advantage at the end, but Scott Bunya going along quite well in 3rd position. Both AlphaTauris running well. Law has dropped out of the DRS of Ballina, so that's not ideal. Still lapping at an alright pace though, around the same pace of Ballina. Actually, interestingly, as Ballina puts in a 45.3, that's a really, really strong lap time responding to the pace of Benjamin. Let's have a look at what Benjamin's lap time is. It's a 45.5, so that gap between Benjamin and Ballina actually starting to grow, so things are going, it's all looking rosy for Ballina in the Williams camp at the moment.
Yeah, I must say the DRS that he is getting is really key for his race at the moment, because it's allowing him, without the DRS, his pace with Benjamin is probably slightly slower than Benjamin on those slightly fresher tyres. But, I mean, with that DRS, it's really helping him out a ton here. And the potential win here is it's almost becoming like he's becoming the favourite for the win today. Of course, we'll have to wait and see how the race develops and how traffic is, and how far back, of course, Ballina does come out compared to Benjamin. But it really is fascinating to see Ballina trying something different, and if he can pull this one off, it'd be quite the drive.
Of course, from 14th on the grid, Scott Pitson comes out. That's going to promote Benjamin to 4th. Dylan Avesta, Leclerc. Avesta's actually got past Leclerc, interestingly. I don't think we saw that one happen. Avesta on much older tyres, so you'd expect Leclerc to make that move. Made a mistake from Leclerc, and there he goes up down the inside. Clinical from the Haas driver. He's back up into 6th. That is effective 3rd position, and he can get his head down back onto the back of Dylan Warren, who is only just under 4 seconds off Benjamin. with much older tyres though, so I wouldn't expect Dylan to really give Benjamin too much of a hard time. Benjamin's fight at the moment has to come with Ballina, who, you know, as you say, has driven an incredible race so far, and shows no signs of slowing down. What he does have to be careful about is getting a penalty. Crucially, Ballina does have 2 warnings. Benjamin only has 1. So 1 penalty. You mentioned a late race safety car. If there's a safety car at the end of the race, and if for example you don't have any penalties, you're going to gain so much time, so much time. If you got, you know, people with 3, 6, 9 seconds around you, which is entirely possible at this circuit, you know, you could gain 5, 6 positions depending on where you are.
That's what Gill's been doing at quite a few races this season. He's been avoiding those penalties and capitalising after the checkered flag. And that's what he was been nailing so well early in the season. That's what scored him so many points and kept him up in second in the championship. But it is going to be interesting to see. A late safety car definitely change things here. But Ballin, those 2 warnings, perhaps early. But now that he's in the DRS's teammate, he doesn't have to really worry about pushing too hard, because he can just drive carefully and not worry too much. As long as he stays in that DRS, he is going to be going quicker than Benjamin, I think. And just a quick note I'd like to make is that how many mistakes a lot of drivers have been making around here today. With, I think, 4 drivers out of the race so far, so many spins and off-track moments for a lot of drivers. For a race that we thought we could be fairly sort of single file throughout it all, a lot of drivers struggling for grip, and it's fascinating to see these guys having issues on a track that in theory is quite a simple one.
Yeah, Ballina has been responding to the pace of Benjamin over the last lap or so. He's the 10th quicker last lap, half a tenth quicker this lap, so that gap is opening. It was 16 seconds a couple of laps ago. It's up to 17.1 seconds now. So Ballina really making them tyres work. Right now he would be out behind Benjamin probably by about 8 seconds or so, and you'd argue fresh softs compared to old hards. Surely a driver of Ballina's calibre will be able to catch up and make that pass.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be almost too easy, because it's that pace is going to be absolutely flying. Just that we have to watch that gap between Benjamin and Ballina, and I think Benjamin just needs to keep his mind.
Oh, and Law's off. Law's gone off. We were talking about Law being in such a good position. We got a virtual safety car. Where's he gone off? He's gone off at turn 3, has he?
Ballina can pit now, surely. He can take softs to the end of this race.
And he does.
Take softs to the end of this race.
And surely that's going to put him out ahead of Benjamin, if he had the best part of a 17-second gap. A shame for Law, but this is going to be capitalised on by Ballina. And if he's not ahead of Benjamin, surely he's going to be in and around him.
Yeah, this has really changed a lot here. I mean, it's gone from Ballina perhaps then have to chase down Benjamin, to Ballina perhaps even being ahead by the time they exit the pit lane. And I think it's almost guaranteed now.
Soft tyres as expected. Mode Stroll as well, another drive to capitalise, but Benjamin does stay out, DRS enabled now, so Ballina is going to be behind Benjamin. The question is, by how long? Benjamin through Abbey now, Ballina through the pit lane exit, he's behind Dylan Warren crucially. Let's see, wait for the time, it's 5 seconds, it's 5 seconds, and with that tyre advantage, Ballina quite literally in the driver's seat today. It's in his hands now. It's in his hands.
Yeah, all he has to do is keep it clean now. Getting past Dylan, and then of course getting eventually past Benjamin. He's got to keep it clean, avoid contact, and avoid a repeat of last week. He just needs to keep his nose clean and just take it carefully. He's got massive grip advantage. His overtake should be easy. He doesn't need to go for the risky dive bombs. He doesn't need to go for a risky move up the inside. He can play it safe, and if he gets squeezed out, he can back out and try again the next lap. He's got half the race to go still. He has got plenty of time to use up those soft tyres, because the wear just isn't that bad. There's no sort of time limit on him, really. He's got sort of a free-for-all here, because there's nothing that you could suggest is holding him back. Only thing on him back is Dylan in front, but Dylan's on those hard tyres very early in the race, early laps he pitted. And, I mean,
Here goes
surely
Ballina.
Ballina here has got this in the bag.
Down the inside of Stowe, purple sector 1, and he's up into second in sector 2. He could be on his way for the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Dylan tried to put up a fight, but there's nothing the McLaren driver could do. Ballina breezes past the hometown hero, up into second, and should we put a lap count on how long it'll be till he passes Benjamin? Surely it can't be long at all as he sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix.
I think Ballina will be in the lead by lap 32. That is my prediction.
Ooh.
But the one thing I will say is that Benjamin is going to fight it hard. He is not going to want to lose the lead here. I've got a feeling those two could battle very aggressively with each other. Benjamin's got a dominant championship lead. Of course that gap has closed down in recent races, but he can risk it slightly more. And so can Ballina. Ballina, another driver, both him and Benjamin. I mean, yes, Benjamin is leading the championship. You suggest he could lose a lot if he crashed out of the race today. But, I mean, with the gaps that there is, I think Benjamin can risk it here and really try and fight for this win. Because, I mean, at this stage of the season, Benjamin is going for the race wins. And yes, if he has another retirement, maybe he should start being more careful. But he's going to want to win the race today. And, I mean, I wouldn't put it past him to fight this one as hard as he would any other driver.
Crucially though, I do hate to play devil's advocate here, but take it from Benjamin's perspective, that gap has been closing over the last 2 events. Gill out of the race, Harry B all the way down in 9th. These are points Ben can't pass up. He needs to take the championship, especially if Gill's going to come on strong in the final part of this season. Ballina has quite literally nothing to lose here today, and he's going to be going all guns blazing for the win. He was a second quicker last lap. On that last lap just gone by, another half a second Ballina gained on Benjamin. I think your prophecy of the 32nd lap of this English Grand Prix might come true, as Mode Stroll, the second of 3 drivers on the soft tyres today, up into 3rd position. So we could even see Mode Stroll get involved with the likes of Benjamin at the end of this race, if them soft tyres can hold on.
Yeah, Mode Stroll's shown some amazing pace in the last few races, and very much got the potential, and almost for sure will get a podium here today, perhaps even 2nd place, as Ballina is getting quite close back to Benjamin now. I'm not sure. I think Ballina has gone off the road there. I mean, that was a few seconds ago, but Ballina, perhaps it will be. I don't think it will quite be lap 32, but I don't think it's going to be long here before Ballina is in the lead.
Yeah, he made a mistake at Stowe and backed out of it in order to avoid getting a penalty. So, you know, as you mentioned, there's no time limit on Ballina. He can, for all intents and purposes, cruise up to the back of Benjamin and get that position. I think we're all in agreement that it shouldn't be too hard for Ballina to make a move. But you mentioned Mode Stroll as well. You know, he won his home Grand Prix in Spain actually a couple of rounds ago. So, you know, he's got pace. He's got to keep it consistent. He could have won last time out in Silverstone if it wasn't for an incident with, I believe, don't hold me on this, but it was one of the front runners. It might have been Ballina actually, interestingly. But Mode Stroll certainly in the running for a podium. It'd be interesting to see if it'll be 2nd or 3rd spot though, depending on what Benjamin does. But it does seem as if the soft tyre trend is catching on. Avesta becomes the 4th driver to strap on the softs set in the final stint of this race. Leclerc making moves. He's 3.5 seconds off Harry, who's lapping in 8th, and given the state of them tyres and the gap ahead of him, I don't think he'll be going too much further. But Scott Bunya, the sole remaining AlphaTauri, looking to make a move here on Memes Virus down the hangar straight. He's got fresher tyres and softer tyres, crucially. Is he going to make a move on the Red Bull? Is the sister team going to overtake the big brother team? Is going to attempt to. He's going to go down the inside of Stone. Memes Virus fantastically holds it around the outside. That's going to gift him the inside line into Club Chicane. But Scott has got so much more grip on their medium tyres and dispatches of Memes Virus Scott up into 5th. Great move there from Scott Jackson up into 5th position, and he's going to look to really consolidate that P5 today.
Yeah, it's looking strong there.
Meanwhile, back to the front. Sorry to cut you off, Jackson. Ballina, easy as you like, up into the lead. That gap was halving, and gone. Ballina takes the lead. Williams take the lead of their home Grand Prix. And for all intensive purposes, Ballina's got one hand on the race win today. Back to you, Jackson.
Yeah, Ballina has been driving absolutely impeccably today. and I mean, it's only a mistake from him that can take this win away from him today. Even a penalty wouldn't stop him, let's be honest here. The rate that he has caught up to Benjamin would suggest that he'll probably win this thing by 10, maybe 15 seconds. It has just been absolute class driving and strategy by Ballina and the Williams team today.
Yeah, just watching a battle between Scott and Virus. Memes did get back at Scott Bunya. They're still battling. This is a great battle. This is bringing Cone. Cone, one of just 2 drivers on them hard tyres he pit onto really early on. 32 laps old they are. He's still getting involved. It's like a grandpa in a boxing match. He's, you know, old but still fighting. That's another one of Alex's analogies to add to the book. I do apologise, but Cone's still getting involved on them old hard tyres, and you know, it doesn't look, you know, he's still with a fighting chance here with Scott and Memes.
Yeah, he's definitely keeping himself in the fight then, which is outstanding with the tyres that he's on. It's going to be interesting to see if he can get back at them. I mean, imagine that those 2 stop battling, they will pull away easily, but as those 2 drivers continue to battle.
Yeah, Cone's actually just made a move on Memes Virus there. So Cone really pushing on here, and I suppose this is highlighting the how long these hard tyres can go, which I suppose is something that Benjamin will be able to keep in mind. They may not have the ultimate pace right now, but come 15 laps time, we're in the final couple of laps, we could see maybe Benjamin, who is holding on to the back of the DRS of Ballina crucially. I'm not sure how long that will stay though, but you know, if them soft tyres start to drop off, it could be an argument to say Benjamin's hard tyres may still be alive and may still be able to push Ballina for the race win.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. These guys are on the limit, and not stopping that could of course be one of the explanations for why these guys are making as many mistakes as they have in practice race. But none of these guys are sort of backing off and taking it easy. They are all flat out throughout this entire race.
Yeah, and Cone's made a move. He's got past Memes, and now he's got past Scott, so he's doing something right on them hard tyres. What it is, I'm not sure, but I'm sure Benjamin would like whatever he had for breakfast. He's up into 5th now on them 33 lap old, I believe, hard tyres, as Scott makes a move back down the inside. They make a bit of contact. It's harsh, probably fair between these two. It doesn't seem anything too dramatic. That's not fair, however. Cone gets a good shove off the track. Memes Virus says thank you very much. Scott down to 6th. Cone, after that incredible couple of laps stint, moving, or I should say being shuffled down into 7th. And Jackson, did you have any comments on that? Have you caught that on the stream, and what do you think of it?
I mean, it's like it wasn't there. He just pushed them straight off the road. I don't really know what he expected there. It was, maybe he just thought there was more room than there was. Scott Bugner there just really pushing as hard as he can, and well, pushing literally Cone off the track. And I mean, that's not what we want to see. It did such a great job in the Alfa Romeo, and to lose quite a couple, well, I think 2 places there because of another driver's sort of mistake. It's unfortunate, but I mean, I'm sure the stewards will have an opinion on that. Yeah, it's a shame. He's still in a solid points position, and with the pace that he's shown, I'm sure he'll keep that points position.
Yeah, importantly though, he doesn't have damage, so if Scott and Memes continue to battle at the rate that they are, he can certainly come back into it. It's as if it's a bit like NASCAR or IndyCar. That's one for you, Jackson. But yeah, they pass one another and they just get the slipstream and go straight back through. So neither of these two want to lead each other at the moment, seemingly, as they go through Abbey here at Silverstone. Scott looking around the outside now. It's an adverse one. Charles Leclerc on Pierre Gasly, maybe from 2019. That's not going to happen. He backs out. We're going to have another shot of the DRS here. Memes a little bit sideways. Scott not with the perfect power application here, out of turn 5 down the hanger straight. DRS activated. He's going to go to the inside, and the AlphaTauri makes the move on the Red Bull. Scott up into 5th. Let's see if he can hold it this time on them fresher tyres. I have to say, Memes doing a great job on them older tyres. He goes right round the outside of Scott, almost as if he wasn't there. Memes just saying, alright, I'll wait till you break 1, 2, 3, I'll break as well. Still side by side now through the final corner, and this is epic battling between the two of these. Scott with the inside into Abbey. Memes Virus shoved out wide there. He can't hold it around the outside. Is he going to look down the inside into Farm? He's not. He backs out of it. He's going to have a shot of the DRS now. I have to say, it's absolutely absolutely breathtaking here at Silverstone Short. I'm not getting a breath in the commentary box. It's absolutely battle upon battle upon battle. I'm trying to keep my eye upon the top guys as well. Benjamin still holding on to Ballina. Memes Virus though having another go at Scott. Scott's just not able to make up enough of the lead to defend when Memes Virus has the DRS into Stowe Jackson.
I mean, these guys, clearly, they've put a lot of faith in each other here to be battling this hard, and it's great to see these guys that are feeling happy to battle as hard as they have been throughout the race. I mean, it's credit to both drivers for keeping clean. I know, of course, Scott Bogner did that sort of dodgy move on Cone earlier on, but these two seem to be battling very hard, and Cone could get back into the fight here as they continue to battle.
Yeah, Cone he's still there. He's within a second now actually, so he's breathing down the necks. These two holding each other up so much, and so much so I'm not sure Harry will get into it. I'll be surprised. Scott going for a move again now though. It's every lap we've got switching around here. I imagine the telemetry of these guys moving positions will be up and down if Cone's coming to this. If they keep battling with this animosity, Harry and Leclerc back to the front. Let's keep an eye on that. The gap between Benjamin and Dylan has come down from what was 4 seconds. It's now down to 1.8 seconds. So despite Dylan's older tyres, he seems to be a little bit happier than Benjamin on these tyres. Could we see a late charge from Dylan to get that up into second place despite his penalty, however?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be past him. He's shown a lot of pace throughout this season as one of the quicker drivers, but I mean, it's going to be tough. Those tyres just aren't really there with him at the moment. But of course, Benjamin sort of has similar tyres, of course those hards, but are slightly fresher. But those hards sort of, they tend to see, sort of, once they get into a rhythm, they tend to sort of slow the wear quite a lot, and you don't really feel it as much. So Dylan, if he can get into a rhythm, and Benjamin perhaps starts to back off and sort of focus on the long term of this race, and of course the points for the championship, perhaps Dylan can take advantage of that and even steal that P2.
Benjamin is still really close to Ballina, so maybe early signs that he's starting to struggle on these soft tyres, but it still seems a little bit early. Just checking the tyre wear on the TAS system, I can't see Ballina's tyre wear, unfortunately. I'd love to be able to provide you with that information, but yeah, we've got one of two situations happening right now. Ballina's towing Benjamin around to keep him clear of Dylan. We know these two get on from their days in VRT together. Is that Marcus off? It is Marcus. He was very close to his teammate Dylan, so I was worrying that was Dylan for a moment, but Marcus gone around. Dylan still up into third. Oh, still up in third, I should say. But yeah, we know Benjamin and Ballina both get on very well through their days in VRT, so either Ballina's just helping Ben out through the latter stage of this race, nurse his tyres, nurse his ERS, and get him to the end, or Ballina isn't as comfortable as we maybe once expected at this point in the race, and is now starting to sit back because he's worried about the tyre wear. Jackson, which one of those do you think it could be without putting you on the spot too much here?
It's impossible to predict, really. These guys are all sort of... I mean, it really is impossible to predict what these guys are going to be doing and how it's going to play out in the end. Because we're thinking one thing and the next second it changes. So I honestly, I couldn't predict it, to be honest with you. It is just too close to call at the moment.
We've got the age-old battle of Scott, Memes and Cone going on. This has got to be one of the battles of the season so far, Jackson. It's absolutely relentless. Scott, even though he's got fresher tyres, he's just not able to he's not got enough corners to use the grip over the likes. So we've got Cone coming into it as well. Gonna make contact. Cone very aggressive on the brakes there. I think he sort of put himself in the position there to make contact, come back again, but I believe that time it was probably at the fault of the Alfa Romeo driver there. But I have to say, I'm impressed with his pace considering he's 43 laps deep on them hard tyres, Jackson.
I mean, yeah, he's really capitalising on those battles in front of him, and he is making up a lot of progress and doing a great job. I mean, it's fascinating to be able to see him being able to do that, sort of lap after lap, keeping those tyres sort of, they might not have most of the grip, but he's still keeping it on the track, which, as we've seen so far today, isn't an easy thing to do. And I have to say, he has driven superbly, and I would not rule him out yet to take away that 5th position.
Yeah, all the drivers from 4th down to Cone in 7th all have 6 seconds of penalty, dependent on Stu's inquiries and penalties later, but nothing obvious that I've seen other than maybe Scott and Cone. But you know, we'll jump that hurdle when we get to it. We're not at it yet, and we're going to focus on the last 4 laps of this race, which is going to come around really quickly. Memes still pressurising Scott, but what I have to say, Benjamin has got well into half a second of Ballina. So with a couple of laps here to go, Benjamin's got more than enough ERS to be satisfied with. We could see a move here for the lead. Ballina, has he used up all his tyres too early? It doesn't matter though, he's got a penalty. What we feared would happen. Benjamin now doesn't have to bother with a move because Ballina, he's made a mistake, he's gone wide at turn 5 and he's given himself a penalty, and with that thrown away the win. And this is surely going to be to claim a win here.
It seems my commentator's curse from earlier today when I said he'd win by about 10 or 15 seconds has it took a while to come to effect, but the curse has struck. And yeah, Ballina there, after looking like he had the win in the bag. And when we saw that virtual safety car, we were like, no way Benjamin can win this now. Benjamin's looks like he can win it. Like, even if Benjamin gets a penalty, he's still got the chance at the overtake. Which is something that if you told me 10 laps ago that Benjamin was going to win this race, I would not believe you. As the battle for P5 continues to rage on.
Yeah, Cone really getting his elbows out here, I should say, with memes. We got just 2 laps to go of this race. Cone round the outside here in the Alfa Romeo. What a move that is if he can hold it in. He's going to go over the curb. That could unsettle the car. And for a second time today, he's found the grass on the exit of turn 5. Oh, can you believe it, Jackson? What a shame.
It's happened again. I mean, this time a lot more contact with the wall, and lucky to still be in the race after hitting the Armco barrier. And as I say that, I see that he's retired. But I mean, after calling us one of the, again, I said he could get P5 today. He's not going to get points today. It's a shame to see that's what the driving has got to. But I mean, Cone gave it into the Vale chicane the previous lap, so I guess you've got to be able to take it. I mean, it's questionable in that battle. Although the Alftar and the Red Bull, they looked very clean with each other. As soon as you added a third car in the mix, it seemed that they struggled to keep it clean, which is sort of somewhat understandable because it's hard to watch 2 cars at once. But I mean, I think Cone there, perhaps his best option was just to sit back and let the 2 in front battle and perhaps push each other wide. But the problem almost was that they were too clean with each other. They weren't sort of pushing each other off the road. And in the end, he wasn't getting the opportunity to...
We've still got this battle going on, raging on throughout the whole of the race, you have to say. Bunya still ahead, and Harry B, there goes Harry B, he sailed past Memes Virus there at the club chicane, but back to the front. They're nearly a whole lap ahead, which, you know, A, shows the speed of these two, but also shows the pace and, you know, the shortness of the lap. Ballina crosses the line first. He's not going to get a win, however, he's going to go into the wall with frustration. Benjamin wins here at Silverstone. Silverstone short, I should say. Redemption for last week. He finishes the race and he finishes on top. Ballina comes home in second. Dylan Warren third after stretching down laps. A whole 49 laps on them hard tyres. That's an effort and a half from the McLaren driver. Mode Stroll comes fourth in a good recovery, and we're going to wait for these guys. The battling's still going on with Memes. They're going to be side by side across the line as Memes Virus and that was Mode Stroll, and Harry made contact after the line actually, thankfully. That result is confirmed, but Memes Virus just got Harry on the line there. Fantastic battling, and I believe it was Avesta and Marcus who rounded off the top 10 and got the fastest lap actually.
Yeah, I mean, that race, it was supposed to fit. Every time we thought we knew something, it got thrown back in our face. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't think we got a single prediction right in that race.
No.
Yeah, it was impossible to predict. That no one would have been able to predict that race. I mean, after qualifying, I think we would have said Benjamin for the win. But then as the race evolved, it looked less and less likely Benjamin would win. At one stage, we suggested he might not even get second place, and he goes and wins the thing. It was just reminding us why he's a championship leader, and of course the favourite for this season's championship, because he's just always there. No matter what situation you put him in, he can win, and that truly is the drive of a champion today.
Of course, I was going to say earlier on, just after Ballina got his penalty, before I think it's only right to say I was consumed in the enthralling midfield battle. But You know, that's something we've seen, a real champion's quality from Benjamin. Whatever you throw at him, he finds a way to make it work. You know, we think back to Baku. He got that drive-through penalty on the second lap and came back. Of course, other factors helped him, but he put himself in the position to benefit from them factors, you have to say. So Benjamin, and of course today, you know, not the preferable strategy at all, pushed Ballon to a point where he made a mistake, and he's got the win to show for it. So, deserved. A win for Benjamin in the first ever 100% race here at VRL through the Silverstone short track, and I have to say, I'd come here again, Jackson.
Yeah, it was fantastic racing, and also some of the drivers may not have enjoyed it due to the incidents that we're having. I mean, the racing is incredible, and that mix of strategy. We thought it was going to be an easy one-stop for everyone. It was an easy one-stop for everyone, but we did not think we'd see anyone on the hard tyres, and the amount of drivers that drive the hards, most of them made it work somehow. We thought those that were going to the hard, that was their race is over. They were going to drop possibly off the podium. But then we see, I mean, Cohen, of course, his race ended up in the wall, but, I mean, he showed, like, incredible pace on those nearly dead hard tyres. You had Benjamin winning the race on hard tyres, and of course you had Dylan Warren getting P3 on tyres that, well, had nearly done the entire race. Just impeccable from all of them. And, I mean, there is a driver that finished this race that didn't deserve to be where they were. Because anyone that finished this race drove absolutely outstandingly. And, I mean, they just, on another level today, I must say.
Great driving from those who finished, and I think we can say we enjoyed it. Jackson, are you able to invite the top three to a party so we can have a quick chat?
I should be able to, yes. So, top three today, it was, of course, Benjamin, who won the race.
Please just stick around for the post-race interviews. We'll have a quick chat with your podium sitters today. And, we'll hear from them on their thoughts after the English Grand Prix. Wonder how they tackled the problem of, or the opportunity, whichever way you look at it, of the Silverstone short circuit. I can see you've invited them, Jackson. We'll sit around and wait and see how we do. So you see if anyone joins us. Hopefully they don't leave us hanging. I'm sure they won't. But a return to form for Benjamin after certainly a really poor Silverstone or British Grand Prix.
Yeah, that was a fascinating race, and I'm sure the drivers will have some stories to tell us after that one. Because that did look like the kind of race that you'd have a couple of stories from. I mean, those guys up front, of course, had quite relatively quiet races. And Fowler especially, be interesting to see if those team tactics were planned, or whether it was sort of pure chance to find himself in the slipstream of his team.
I can't imagine Ballina would be too impressed.
Yeah, it's a missed opportunity there today. I'd like to apologise to Ballina when they join the bar. I'll say it now whilst we wait for them. For cursing him when I said he would win with a 10 or 15 second lead. Just shows you how much I know. We used to Benjamin winning the races by 10 and 15 seconds. That's why we see someone a chance and we just.
I think you just got a bit excited, Jackson. Got a bit head over heels.
It was actually the opposite, really. I was disappointed that Ballina was going to run away with it, not because it was Ballina winning, but because I like to see a good battle. And in the end, I'm glad I was wrong. It was a good battle at the end. It's a shame about the penalty because that perhaps stopped some racing. But sort of, all in all, it was an entertaining race as we wait for the drivers to join the commentary box.
If they will, of course, if they will.
Yes.
We'll give it a minute or two whilst we continue to reflect. But this is huge for Benjamin. Points over Gill, points over, well, everyone.
Fantastic. Whilst we wait for them to join, and it's. I mean, it's a thoroughly entertaining race, and I mean, I'd love to see the track back on the calendar. Perhaps see on a different short circuit, because that showed they are. I mean, anything other than Japan, really, but they showed that they can produce some very strong racing, and yeah, it really was fascinating to watch.
I think we're slowly losing hope of the drivers joining.
What? One more thing I can. I've said the same about 5 times. I'll throw something different in there. For anyone that cares, F1 testing. Verstappen's got a 128.9 now in F1 testing, so pretty rapid lap time.
For anyone that stayed around, for anyone that didn't, thank you.
Yeah.
And for everyone else, thank you. Jackson, it's been a lot of fun joining you today. Amid the issues of join the lobby streaming XYZ, we made it through. We're here to tell the story and reflecting on what was a fun race at the short circuit of Silverstone.
Yeah, it was a fairly entertaining race, and I must say I can't wait for next week.
And that is where we shall end it. Thank you all very much for watching. Jackson, again, thank you for joining. Thank you all the drivers for competing 52 laps of the Silverstone short circuit. We'll be here again next week, same time, same place. Don't go anywhere. Thank you very much for being here. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.